Hello everybody. Welcome to the 57th Ignite Liverpool. It's customary for me to go, oh my god, 57, how have we done so many? But yeah, it's because we keep just rocking up and down, because you all keep turning up to watch them. And the speakers keep agreeing to actually give talks, which is awesome. So yeah, if you're interested in giving a talk, you should definitely tell Neil. It's a very friendly crowd, as I'm sure you're all aware, because you're all in the crowd.
Scan the QR code.
Apparently you can scan the QR code, but isn't that to get on the mailing list to find out when the next one is?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's another. See, there are many. So, talk to, you can see here why you need to talk to Neil or Lydia and not me, because I don't know anything about this. I just rock up on the night, take all the glory. They do all the work. So yes, I'm glad that you found us. This is the first time I've been in this venue. It's not bad, is it? Yeah. Let us know what you think of it. We're back to when we started. That Neil and I and Dan, if we can remember just that far, like in the distant past, we did move around and we were never in the same place twice. For the first couple of years. Yeah. Probably, let's say a couple of years. Yeah. Before we settled in Leeds. And so now we're back on the road, but maybe we're not, maybe we'll be settling here. We'll see. Anyway, you didn't come here to listen to me freeform about rubbish. You came for some good talks, and so we'll get on to those. So if you haven't been before, each talk has got 20 slides. Each slide is shown for 15 seconds. So each talk is going to last for 5 minutes, whether the speaker wants it to or not. And it also means we can pack a load of really interesting talks in over the course of the evening. So we're going to have a bunch of talks, like half a dozen or something, by the looks of it, and then we'll have an interval, and then in the second half, more of the same, another half dozen talks. At the start of the second half, we will have 1 minute pitches. So if you've got a project that you're working on, or an event that you're doing, or something that you think that the good people, such as yourself, sat in the audience, would like to hear about, come and find me, join the interval, and at the start of the second half we'll have just kind of quick fire, I'm doing this thing, it's going to be awesome, this is how you can find out more, sort of a thing. And then after we've done all of those, then we'll go back to the super long 5 minute talks instead. So without further ado, we'll get somebody who's spoken in the past at Ignite, and she's back to give us another talk. She's telling us about how analog is back. And so we welcome to the stage, Kate James.
Hi everyone. I'm going first. I'm Kate James, lovely to see you all. I am a journalist and communications expert in Liverpool. This is my 5th Ignite, as if you've done 57. So scary. Analog is back is a bit of a stretch because it never went anywhere, so we all know it was still there underground, rumbling away. And I think really what I'm trying to kind of portray to you this evening is the fact that community is actually back, and it's back with a bang. This is me. I didn't sneak, I was invited over the barriers at the Western Approaches to actually put on the headphones, and that is the OG switchboard that helped win the Battle of the Atlantic, which is just incredible. I actively seek this stuff out. I don't actually know what analog means. Apparently this is the kind of justification. To me, it means old stuff that made me dead happy. That just lovely, lovely, warm memories of things and people. One of which is maps. I used to travel with my dad up to the northeast every weekend. We would have an argument because I could never get the bugger to fold back in as it was supposed to, and it got shoved back under the car seat. And I was never looking at the way. We knew the way, but I just loved looking at it. And I did sit an aptitude test to join the Navy as a cartographer and failed. Other things that made me really happy that are analogue to me. So, I can't believe I never got to interview Cilla Black as a journalist. It kills me to this day. I loved Blind Date. I loved that she was just so warm, and all the other things there, riding bikes, etc., going to the shop for a quarter of sweets because you had to speak to people. My dad had one of these, and I love the fact that a wireless radio just meant that you'd get the news on the hour and the weather on the hour, and it would come to you when it was ready. I got my first Sony Walkman and thought I was super cool, and my community actually kind of like folded in a little bit then because I got headphones thinking I was cool, and I never had a pocket big enough to put a Discman in either, which was frustrating. I was about to say the trilogy, but there's four. Do you remember this? This is the internet before the internet happened. If you needed to ring someone, you just go and get the book. Imagine GDPR now. I'm walking around with your record of achievement, like, look at me, I did some exams. Elizabeth, God, that's a horrendous photograph, sorry. Do you know that Elizabeth Duke was the Argos founder's wife? True story, actual cultural icon. I think I did actually get some crappy earrings out of there back in the day. The Leeds contingent will know this. This is the phone booth from the end of your road. They've just come back from university. This is what phone booths look like now, but we used to go and we used to put those special codes in where you get to listen to music. Does anybody ever remember that? Do you also remember that there used to be loads of like dodgy cards and stuff that you probably shouldn't look at as a kid? In terms of community coming back, this is the blue coat and it makes my heart sing. This is my kind of social media. More of this in your local supermarket, in schools even. Does anybody else wish that they kept all of the old stuff? Because now it's so expensive, I can't actually afford it. 600 quid for a stereo. Absolutely crazy. But again, you know, we knew what all the buttons did, and you know, your mum and dad would shout at you. We've moved into hobby maxing as well, which again makes me so happy. According to the BBC, massive bags are back after London Fashion Week 2025 because we're trying to shove all of our favourite things in them rather than to just be fashionable. And I mean, they literally fit everything. As I say, my daughter's away at university and she's realised that a lot of conversations that are worth having happen when people are smoking or vaping outside, and she doesn't, so she takes bubbles instead. And she stands outside and blows bubbles. Listening sessions at the Jacaranda, just incredible. Go and just listen to something for the first time. Do you remember upstairs at Leafley you also used to do listening sessions? Best thing ever. Go and listen to a vinyl album as it was meant to be. These are just some examples of some incredible things that are happening across the city. Girls on the Go, I absolutely take my hat off to them. So welcoming and wholly inclusive and loads of really cool stuff. Really good friend of mine, Michelle O'Dwyer, who runs Community Cookery. You could, any day of the week in Liverpool now, you can go and play board games, you can learn to sew, you could go do pottery, if ghost is your favourite thing. Far too messy for me. But my point being, you can go and learn these skills on your doorstep. Now, at a time when this has happened, and it's split opinions and whatnot, I can't help but think we're all leaning towards it anyway. I say all, that's probably a little bit more encompassing, but I think there's definitely a movement towards moving back to getting back to things that make us feel connected and that we belong. So for me, community is back. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Kate. I mean, I guess Ignite's a bit of a community, isn't it? We're the same faces each time. New faces come in. It's all good. Yeah. And I still have a very old hi-fi that, I got given when I was at school.
Don't sell it on Depop.
I don't know. I need to go and find out how much it's worth now. Right. So from one Kate to another Kate. So we're going to Kate Colbank now.
Thank you. I still have my stack system.
Yes.
It was the first thing I bought with my first real pay packet, and it's still in the cupboard and it still gets used. So yeah, thank you. So, I'm talking about the drama triangle. So hands up if you've ever been completely certain you were the only reasonable person in a situation. Yeah, congratulations, you've been in the drama triangle. We all have, probably this week. Today I want to show you what it is, why your brain does it, and what it costs you, and then offer you a way out. We've all had moments when a minor disagreement suddenly erupts. We can all spiral down into these roles, especially when things feel tense or threatening. None of them are genuinely helpful, for they're all reactive and fear-based. I'm ahead of the slides. Okay, there we go. So the villain attacks before they're attacked. Resentment becomes aggression, either outwards or inwards. It causes isolation and guilt and doesn't solve any problems. I'm still ahead. It's all right, I'll get behind in a bit. The victim is, I like the victim slide, overwhelmed, turning to complaining and powerlessness. This is too hard, I'm helpless, somebody please notice, sympathise, rescue me, it's not my fault, help. It's all too much. She just needs an analogue telephone insurance, doesn't she? And the hero, the insecurity turns into proving and sacrifice. It feels noble, it feels like love. But actually, it's about managing your own discomfort by making yourself indispensable to everybody else because you feel unworthy of love. So, why is this so common? The villain feeds off adrenaline. The hero gives us a thrill. The victim avoids responsibility. The intensity makes us feel alive, but it creates a frenzy of blaming, accusing, and shame. Now, before we go any further, some respect for the stress response system, fight, flight, freeze, etc. This kept our ancestors alive. It's fast, automatic, and when the threat is real, it's exactly right. The problem is it's a bouncer who can't tell the difference between genuine danger and a dent to your status, reputation or dignity. And that second category, identity threat, is where most of us live now. The threats are symbolic and relational. These reactive roles make complete sense as glitchy stress responses. The persecutor fights. The victim, you freeze or you flight. The rescuer is all about fawning and earning safety by being indispensable. These aren't character flaws, they're all software running on new hardware in a world the system was never designed for. Drama triangle relationships are a downward spiral of grievances. It reduces all of us and solves nothing. Drama is cheap energy, it's fast, it's satisfying, and it gives you a role to play and something to push against. So, what's the alternative? The empowerment dynamic. Each role gets flipped. Victim becomes creator. Instead of this is happening to me, you ask, what do I actually want? What can I do? You take your agency back. The villain becomes a challenger. You can still name what's not working. You're direct, but without the adrenaline hit of blame and without creating further pain and new problems. The hero can become the coach. You believe the other person can handle their own life. You ask, what do you need, instead of diving in to fix it? You can be proud rather than resentful. The drama triangle, while cheaper in the moment, is exhausting over time. You're constantly performing, reacting, defending, and most probably making things worse for yourself. Empowerment is an investment, and it's harder in the short term. The creator has to sit with discomfort without collapsing into helplessness. The challenger has to be honest without hiding behind anger. And the coach has to sit on their hands when everything in them wants to fix everything. All of this requires a regulated nervous system which takes actual effort. It's genuinely more work in the moment. But when you can catch the triangle in real time, not always, not even most of the time at first, you have a choice. And that's not nothing, that's everything, that's freedom. Next time you're absolutely certain you're the hero, the victim, or the only adult in the room, the triangle is probably spinning. Notice how it's an ego-based, reactive system. Ask yourself, what would it take to stay curious instead of defensive in a hard moment? Imagine what the longer-term benefits will be and stop allowing your vitality to be drained by the drama vampire. Thank you. No, it's a drama vampire.
Thank you very much for that, Kate. And the next speaker isn't a Kate, in a shocking challenge to tradition. We have Rebecca Sharkey. And so now that we've fixed ourselves, we can work out how to fix the streets. So let's talk about the streets.
Hey everyone, let's go. Liverpool, what a wonderful city, wonderful people, so many wonderful things happening and going on. Transport infrastructure, not so great. Pavement parking, terrible bike lanes. Things haven't really changed in 50 years. Look at this, it's incredible. And a lot of the attitudes as well about cars have not changed. So yeah, I think we've got a bit of a problem here, and I'm trying to get people to knock their heads together. The school run, children are exposed to 5 times more pollution on the school run than at other times of the day. Cars have got much bigger and much more dangerous. It's a kind of vicious cycle that we've got to break. And car brain is what I think Liverpool is suffering from, otherwise known as motor normativity. It's just not acceptable that nearly 250 people were killed or seriously injured on our roads in the city region. If that was from any other cause, there would be an absolute outcry. This is why I set up Better Streets for Liverpool, and we've got these 10 asks for safer streets that we're pushing through and getting support for across the city region. The first one is about school streets, and not just that, but you know, how many of you used to walk to school? Yeah, it sometimes even play out, and now it's just kind of impossible, and we've got to break the deadlock. It's got to be more safe. The pavement parking in Liverpool is just off the scale awful. Who is he defending against? Small children? And that's, I mean, every day I'm just appalled by it, and I'm sure you are too. 20 miles an hour, if you're hit by a car that's being driven by somebody at 30 miles an hour, you're 5 times more likely to be killed than if they were being driven at 20 miles an hour. In the rural, they brought it 20 miles an hour in, they've had a quarter drop in collisions. We want more greenery, we want more trees, give up some of the parking spaces for more greenery. We're facing heat waves, flooding, we need to do that. I cycled around Liverpool trying to find a picture of a bus lane. Yeah. This was the only one that I could find. Why don't we have bus lanes? It's nuts. Buses should have priority. Cycle lanes, big issue. We've got some, they don't always lead anywhere. There's a lot of really crappy ones. 2/3 of women say they don't feel safe cycling in Liverpool, half of men. So really, it's not good enough 2% of journeys are taken by bike. People constantly risking their lives just across the road in Liverpool. Again, completely unacceptable. There just aren't enough crossings. I'm moving on. The crossings that are there, you end up waiting, you press the button, you wait for 3 minutes, and then you get 10 seconds to run across. It's not good enough. There aren't enough dropped curbs for people with wheelchairs. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Bike storage, absolutely essential for people to be able to keep a bike at home and be able to park safely when they get somewhere. At the moment, it's very few and far between. We don't actually have very good evidence collection on air pollution, but we know that it's bad. So we need to be able to measure it, and we need to be able to show that it's improving as a very kind of baseline thing. So those are the 10 asks. We're pushing them through. We put them through Liverpool City Council. We've got a unanimous vote in favour, which was brilliant, which is just the start, really, getting them on the table. So we're pushing them, going to start thinking about doing it in other of the city region councils as well. We're getting media coverage. We're trying to change the narrative around car culture. This is an interview I did with the incredible Joanne Colleran, whose son Bobby was killed in 2014, run over and killed just outside his school, and she's absolutely incredible woman. Get your phones out. We've got a councillor action to support. Thank the councillors for voting. If you live in Liverpool City Council region, Liverpool City Council area, We want to thank the councillors and say, do more, and tell them about what's important to you. People don't like change, but once it happens, they're okay with it. And I think this is really a strong message I want to send to politicians: push through the backlash, because on the other side, we can have a much nicer city. We have some great examples of where things have changed for the best, often during lockdown, when the rules were relaxed. But we can see what a better city Liverpool could be and must be if it wants to be a kind of modern European city, like we all want it to be.
I thought you were going to leave it long enough for the statue that's just over the road. Thank you very much for that, Rebecca. Yeah, it's been interesting asked. I've got a nice photo of a mobile police station parked on the pavement on the road, which doesn't seem like it's setting the best example. And our next speaker is Paul Mack. He's going to be telling us about names, so maybe it's just going to be all about Kate's. I don't know, we'll find out.
Thank you. My name is Paul, but there's not going to be any Pauls in my talk, or any Kates. There's also no slides, but I will talk about names anyway. Okay, yeah, here's my name again. I think names are important. Why do I think they're important? Well, one thing is, and I'm going to go straight into my next slide, which I can't see, is that they last. Because sitting on the next slide is a memorial stone from Pompeii, which has survived an avalanche and survived since Roman times, but it's still there, if you can understand Latin. But other things have also lasted, like, for instance, the symbol of the Isle of Man, which you may see on vehicles driving around that have come off the ferry, and the legs of man and the name of man survived for not as long as Roman times. Here's another man, totally unrelated, famous German author, survived since the beginning of the 20th century when this was published, famous German literature. There are other mans, but I'm now going to go on to another more familiar name, Liverpool. So when I looked on OpenStreetMap, I found Liverpool, New South Wales, which, strangely enough, doesn't look anything like Liverpool, Merseyside, but it is near Sefton, which I found quite strange. And here's some other things which are confusing, because we have Victoria and Albert on the left, and we have another Victoria who was the daughter of Victoria, and another Albert who was the son of Victoria and Albert on the right. And firms are much more confusing because they can use whatever names they feel like. So here's Central Garage, it's in South Africa. But is it central? I don't know, but I think very helpful. And it's a garage, so it's convenient. But streets also have names, but when they're in Malta, they have names in Maltese, which is very hard to understand. And here is Straight Street, and I don't know whether it was even straight, because there's a lot of streets which are very narrow and wiggly. This is not a street, but it's some sort of establishment I saw in Malta. And what was puzzling to me was that this was the St James Cavalier Centre. So how cavalier is it in terms of stimulating creativity, especially if you're confronted by Puritan soap, which was not in Malta. This was on a preserved railway in Somerset. And I don't think I've ever seen it in supermarkets, but I'm sure it's good, because after all. And you know all about California, and you know it has great weather, but here is a sign to California, and you can see that the weather is not that good. And there was never a gold rush here, but that was definitely California. And you definitely know about Kensington, because this is in Liverpool. But various other Kensingtons are around, one of which outrageously calls itself a royal borough. This is the royal borough of Kensington and Chelsea, and is a lot more wealthy, and possibly is older. But it's not the only Kensington. There's another one coming up in the next slide, if I can get the next slide to appear. But anyway, there is. Yeah, here we go. Kensington. This is a suburb of Sydney in New South Wales, But in Australia, there's another 4 Kensingtons in different states. So there's a lot of duplication of names going on here. But you don't have to be original. After all, we've already found out about Liverpool. Was Liverpool named after the live birds, which is on the live building? Clearly not, because they came after Liverpool was founded, which was a lot of centuries ago. But a lot of people associate the live birds with Liverpool, especially if they're on a cruise ship. So I'm going to go away from cities to St Kilda, which is an archipelago in the Outer Hebrides. Is it named after a person called Kilda? No, it isn't, because there never was. But it is in the Outer Hebrides, the only local authority in the UK that uses Scots Gaelic as its name, which is why I've put it there, and I've also put it in English so you know what it is. And here's its flag. There's another St Kilda, it's in Melbourne in Australia, and you can go there by a historic tram like this one. I was coming back. So we should have trams in Liverpool, but we don't. They do it. Here is Fair Isle. This is in the south of the Shetlands. Is it fair? Probably not, because you can't. If you order things online, you can't get things to live there. It's too isolated. That's why I put Is it fair. If you go to the north of the Shetlands, you come to Unst, which is by far the end of the road. It has a road. It's a numbered British road. But when you get to the end of it, it's the most northerly road in the British Isles, and it's definitely the end of my talk.
Thanks for that, Paul. The Australians just stealing all of our names. It's just, I live in Kensington Fields, and there aren't very many fields in Kensington Fields. It's just mostly houses. Anyway, our next speaker is, I don't know if this is like a bit like going back to the analogue thing, talking about coins. I mean, nobody uses money these days. So yeah, if you welcome to the stage, Tom Williamson is going to tell us about coins.
Right. Oh, am I getting feedback? Am I too loud? About here? Okay, fair enough. Right, so I'm going to be talking about coins because I do a history podcast and I love stories, and I'm going to try and convince you that coins really do tell stories, because I've been up here before, well, not literally here, but I've been at Ignite talking about flags before, and the reason I always tell people I love flags is because flags tell stories. And I'm going to very quickly tell you one of my favourite little ones, which is I'm going to show you the flag of the Netherlands and Indonesia. And you'll notice that the Indonesian flag is the Dutch flag, but with the blue taken off, because that's what they did when the Indonesians were fighting for their independence. They'd take a Dutch flag, then rip the bottom off and go, there you go, there's our flag. So there's our coin, there's my coin collection. Left to right, it is Royal Tat, then on the headlines, and then all the Russian stuff, not that I like Russia that much these days, Slavic, Ukrainian, all that. But the Russian, but coins, when you know how they're made, you understand that they're little time capsules, because you need a die, a blank, otherwise known as a planchet, and a massive press to put down loads of pressure. So once you've no longer got the die, you can't make coins. So as a bit of history, this is the history of Russia from 1917, when you have the Tsar. You have then had 2 revolutions and a civil war before Lenin took over. And you can track this through their coins. So they are very much imperial, and then they stop at 1917, and then they become very Soviet on one side, but the same on the other side, until the Civil War was over, when they went, actually, let's change the coins as well. And Princess Diana, I'm sure we all remember her, so the mother of the next to the lines of the throne, and when she died in 1997, it was a huge shock to everyone. It felt like the world had ended. But there was basically a huge Diana grief industry for a short time, and lots of countries bought out memorial coins. So Liberia bought out a tribute to her campaigning against landmines in Angola, and Zambia did a tribute to her visiting villages, and Uganda predicted that she would return from the grave as a flesh-eating zombie. So that's my collection. So now I'd like to tell the story of the most expensive coin in the world, and that's the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle. And if you just look at it, it's beautiful. It's brand new, mint state 65, which is around 70. So beautiful coin, 90% gold, but it's the story that makes it valuable. So in 1933, the US Mint, as per usual, minted hundreds of thousands of $20 gold coins. But this was during the Depression. And for reasons which are too complicated to get into in this talk, the US government wanted to stop people hoarding gold. So President FDR brought around the Gold Confiscation Act, which meant that the government would buy people's gold. They forced people to turn it in. And so what happened with all these coins that were minted, they were melted down. So they were turned back into bullion and the gold sent to Fort Knox. But a handful of these coins got out. No one knows exactly how many, it's about 24 maybe. But because they got out, and they weren't meant to, the US Secret Service got involved. This is their flag. Naughty Secret Service, white on yellow, what's that? It's metal on metal, disobeys law of tincture, rubbish flag. And then we have King Farouk of Egypt, an avid coin collector. He was given an export license for one of these gold coins by mistake. But he was then overthrown in 1952, and the US government went, "Can we have our coin back?" And the Egyptians went, "What coin?" It disappeared for about 40 years before turning up with a guy called Stephen Fenton, who was arrested by the Secret Service in a sting, and the coin was moved to the Twin Towers for safekeeping. Fortunately moved out in July 2001. It was then bought by a guy called Stuart Wiseman, who designed shoes for Princess Diana, and he got the coin graded, so it's in that lovely capsule, and he sold it in 2021 for $18.9 million. Because it's got a hell of a story, it's beautiful, and it's incredibly rare. It's literally the only 1933 $20 gold piece you can buy. So hopefully I've convinced you that coins tell stories, and I'd better be walking off to gold by Spandau Ballet. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Tom. And of course, those of you who haven't been to all of the Ignites may not understand fully the law of tincture. And you can go back and watch one of Tom's earlier talks on YouTube, where he explains that at length about which colours can go next to which ones in flags. It's very interesting. I don't know if that bit's got me singing a football chant at the end of it that I did. I don't know if that was on the video or not. I think it's the only time I've sung whilst emceeing. Yeah, apart from when Neil forces me to sing the Ukrainian Eurovision thing before one of the Ignites. Anyway, on to the last speaker of the first half, and that is going to be Martin Dr. Love Graf. I don't know if that's Neil just adding that in, or if he asked, and I don't know if that's going to start a trend where everyone's now just going to ask for, this is the middle of my, hey, if you can welcome Dr. Love to the stage.
I don't know where that came from, it's Neil's fault. Okay, should we ready? Go on, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the psychology of kissing. We probably all remember our first kisses, what it felt like, how you felt afterwards. Average age of a first kiss is apparently about 15, and we're going to kiss about 18.9 people in our lives. I don't know what 0.1 is, but anyway. We talk about kissing in language. We say we kiss somebody goodbye, we kiss and make up, we kiss and tell. We even think that kisses have magical properties, such as when we kiss a frog and it turns into a prince, or we kiss someone and they wake up. various different types of kisses, kiss to the forehead, rub noses like Eskimos do, kiss to the hand, little stolen kiss there, or the slobbery kiss your grandmother gives you, that kind of thing. But I'm going to talk about, anyway, lip-to-lip kissing, romantic kisses. There are cultural differences, so lip-to-lip kisses are not universal, right? They're not, in every culture. In some cultures, it's a bit like asking someone to taste your lunch or something. Differences between Americans and Europeans as well, that 55% of Europeans kiss and 80% of Americans kiss. Function of kissing, it really is to taste somebody, to taste if they're healthy, apparently. Okay. In the long term, it's a display of affection. When do we kiss? Well, we kiss, I suppose, to show affection, but 5 times we kiss in the day very quickly. We kiss in the night before we go to bed, we kiss in the morning when we wake up, we kiss when we go to work, we kiss when we come back from work, and the 5th time is apparently when we're reaching for the TV remote. There are sex differences as well, in as much as men are more likely to go in for the kiss, as we say. Bangladeshi men are 15 times more likely to kiss than women, and women definitely won't have sex without kissing. The mechanics of kissing are that we look someone in the eye, we tilt a little bit into the kiss there, a certain angle, maybe get your lips ready, and probably decide how much tongue we're going to use. Maybe. Okay, memory for kissing. Kissing represents a kind of escalation point in relationships, that, when we're moving from friendship to dating to being in a relationship, and apparently we remember our first kiss more than we remember our first sexual encounter. Bad kissing, characterised by definitely too much tongue. I dated a girl once who did definitely leave the tongue too much. Sorry, Alice, but that was good. Too much saliva, maybe not a good thing to do that. Other characteristics of bad kissing, asking for feedback, don't do that. Definitely keep your mind on the kiss when you're kissing. That's a big turn off if you're not keeping your mind on the kiss. Some ideas of bad kissing. Definitely, make sure you've got good oral hygiene. 20% of Australians apparently will definitely terminate a relationship as a result of bad kissing and sort of bad oral hygiene. So definitely floss, definitely brush your teeth before you go kissing. Good kissing is characterised by love and passion, and maybe an element of sometimes surprise, or sometimes by a bit of anticipation. But we kind of know when to kiss. You definitely don't go in for those unsolicited kisses. Why we kiss on the lips? Why don't we just sort of rub knees to show affection? Our kind of sensitivity in our mouth, sensitivity of our lips, our tongues and things is far more sensitive. That lights up areas of our brain, gives us far more sort of pleasure. Kissing at New Year, make sure if you're going to kiss someone at New Year, we're not really New Year right now, but make sure you've got maybe some mistletoe there. Maybe you're choosing exactly who you want to kiss, obviously. Maybe you want to stand close to them. People do engage in regretted kisses, such as kissing your boss, kissing a policeman, kissing a priest, apparently. People do engage in regretted kisses, people they shouldn't have kissed at 2 a.m, that kind of thing. Kissing advice. Well, how many dates do you go on before you kiss somebody? How do you know that people want you to kiss them? How do you know how you show someone that you want to be kissed? These are all questions which we might ponder on. But in terms of kissing advice, well, apparently you need a sort of more kind of open body posture, lean into the kiss a little bit, 80 degrees perhaps, I don't know what the exact angle is. Get your lips ready, that kind of thing, and maybe hold someone's hand while you're kissing them. So anyway, in conclusion, kisses are a bit like holidays, right? You're going on a bad holiday, you're going on a good holiday, but you're always going to want more holidays. Remember, you can't get pregnant from kissing, so you can't practice kissing. They say a man should never talk for longer than he's able to make love. So that's about 5 minutes, I think. So, thank you very much, Liverpool. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Love. I don't know, do you think it's a bad idea on dates to take a protractor to work out if you've got the right angle?
Done it, yeah.
And I'm disappointed that I was hoping Dan was going to have Kissing with Confidence.
I also thought Kiss,
Kiss,
by,
just...
well, no,
Prince. Prince, yeah. You may have spotted that Dan, at the end of each talk, always plays some music that is thematically appropriate. It is, they're always good. So that brings us to the end of the first half. We're going to have a 20-minute interval now, so you can have a chat with other people. I mean, I think if you're going to practice kissing, maybe just a bit more discreetly. But come back for the second half anyway. And if you've got a thing you want to tell everybody about at the start of the second half, 1 minute pitch, come and find me, and then we'll get all of them done at the start of the second half. So, see you in 20 minutes. To talk about their air quality sensors they have across the city and what they measure. And how they make the sensors and that sort of thing. So that's, if you go to events.doesliverpool.com, you can find out and register for that. And then we can have Ellie on first, because she's nearest. Well, you're second, in fact, because I was first.
Hello everyone, I've got a prop. Jump in and 4.5 to hole for the whole thing. Do I start now? Just go? Yeah, okay, we're off. Hello everyone, my name is Ellie. I'm from an organisation called Bailey and Riley, and as part of our ongoing careers services, which we're currently doing in schools around Liverpool, we want your careers confessions, which is why I've got a little phone here with a logo on it. So if you've ever done something daft to get into your job, if you've done something dodgy to get into your job, if you've been quiet, if you've quit, if you've been fired, if you've been made redundant, something stupid you've done to get to know people in your field of work, whatever that is, whether it's a traditional line of work or if it's something creative. We want to hear about it, so if you come and see us, sat just over there, you did hear from our founder, Kate James, the first Kate that came up. There was some confusion in the Kate realm, I think. Come and find us, we've got some business cards with a phone number on it, and if you give us a ring, you can leave your career confession at the voicemail. It's completely anonymous, you're just letting us use your voice on our social media and in schools, and it's just a way to give kids going into the world of work a bit of a, softer entrance as they see some stupid things people have done, to see it's not so big and scary and serious. Come and find us, grab a business card, call the number, leave a voicemail at the red phone, we want to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Kirsty talking about the LCR decop.
I was going to say I kissed my boss, but I actually didn't. So I'm usually here on this stage talking, pedalling bikes. Today I'm actually going to pedal data. That's not the same sort of fun, is it? So I am working for an organisation called Open Data Manchester, although the name suggests perhaps we only do things in Manchester, we help people understand and use data better. We do that locally, nationally, internationally, and we have a group in Liverpool called Liverpool City Region Data Community of Practice. Community of practice being people who don't necessarily all work together, but they all work on the same sort of stuff. So you might just be interested in data, you might work specifically with data, but we would really encourage people to join. Today we had an event which was all about the indices of deprivation. They're a way that the government understands things like poverty, affluence, and comparisons across England particularly. So we had an amazing event with the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government today, as well as Liverpool City Region and Greater Manchester Combined Authority. If you are, as I say, interested, working in data, the next one that we're going to have is on the 22nd of September. That is about misrepresentations and misunderstandings with data. And actually we are always looking for speakers as well, so if you work in data, misunderstandings, misrepresentation, 22nd of September. The next one after that is on the 21st of October, and that is about waste data. If you think that drug crime, for example, is bad, you should see waste crime. So that is us. If you want to find out more about that, you can find me. Open Data Manchester, sign up to our mailing list. I hope that was a minute. Thank you very much.
And now Gary's talking about jelly. Hello, my name's Gary, and I like jelly. Seriously, this is a great opportunity if you work at home, if you're on your own, if you're just sitting there and wondering who to talk to, get yourself down to jelly. It's every Thursday. It's Neil's side project.
I'm an actual success story because I hadn't worked for 10 years. I started going to jelly, built my confidence up again, and yesterday was 1 year in my job. And I do encourage you, if you want to go out, just go down to jelly every Thursday in Liverpool, different locations. Check out the website. Thank you very much.
On the website is?
JellyLiverpool.com.
JellyLiverpool.com. Thank you.
It feels like you need to give a career story as well with that. And our last 1 minute pitch is from Sana, talking about the Circular Arts Network.
Hello. So I'm Sana, and this month we took over Art at Liverpool with a circularity issue, so try and grab one if you can. Circular Arts Network, Liverpool LCR, is basically a sharing of resources and materials and stuff like that. We're going to be doing some swap shops at Red Brick Market. We're based at Duz and Birkenhack and other venues. But yeah, if you're interested, it's Circular Arts Network LCR on social, on Instagram, and we've got the .co.uk. But yeah, if you want to grab me, I'm at the back. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Okay, back to the super long 5 minute talks. And the first one of the second half is Lucy Charnock, who's going to be telling us about skimp or shrink inflation figures.
Hello. Okay, so who remembers when Tolborine was this big? Now it's fucking tiny now. It's not even worth considering. You know what? I've had enough. I'm sick to the back teeth of it. And this is all to do with inflation. So most people know inflation as the increase in average price levels, which causes the real value of money to fall. It's usually between 1% and 3% and set by the Consumer Price Index. But I think there's two types of inflation which actually go amiss quite often in the economy and what we publish, and that is what's known as shrinkflation and skimpflation. So before I get into those, let me introduce myself. So my name's Lucy, this is my third time speaking at Ignite. Woo! I'm a senior economist, I've worked across various different government departments, and I'm fucking sick of not hearing the reality of what's been going on in the media. So I'm here to set the record straight. So let's start off with shrinkflation. So let's say something costs you £5, right, and you get 50 grams of it. But the next year, it's still a £5, now you're only getting 40 grams. Same price, less for your money, you're discreetly worse off. And something quite common at the minute is actually toothpaste. So you used to get 100ml of toothpaste, now it's only 75ml. And the thing is, we're so price driven as consumers is that we don't often consider the weight value of things. On the other hand though, you've got skimpflation. So, something a chocolate bar, say, is 70% cocoa. But next year, it's only 50%. They replace it with other crappy ingredients. It's the same price, reduced quality. Again, you're discreetly worse off. Common one at the minute, Cadbury's. They've replaced their cocoa with palm oil, and consumers are actually rebelling against it, just refusing to buy it. Rightly so. Another one you might not even consider is actually hotels. So you used to get your room serviced every day if you wanted it. Now you only get it every other day. Same price, reduced quality, difficult to put a monetary value on that. And you know what, this matters so much because we're getting ripped off. The CPI isn't telling us what the true reality is. So I've I googled some different ideas of what we think, how you can measure these two types of inflation. So we're going to start with the first one. Inflation should be measured per given metric. So let's say there's £1 for 100ml, that's a pence per millilitre. £1 for 75ml is 1.33 pence. So that ultimately gives you an increase in price of 33%. That's pretty simple, easy to implement, not that too difficult to understand. But the next one is a bit more complicated, which will come on the screen in about 3 seconds, and I'm talking too fast. Now, hedonic pricing. So this is where you measure price per component. So let's say your house is 100 grand, your driveway is another 15,000, maybe your garden's another 10,000, so you assess each individual component. So if we go back to our hotel room example, let's say it's about 100 quid for 2 nights, and within that you get a service every day. 2 services cost 40 quid, but because you're only getting 1 now, that you've lost 20 quid of value. So that 20 quid that you're losing, divided by the £100 that you were going to spend anyway, gives you an increase in price of 20%. Again, quite difficult to assess in different types of areas of the economy, but really, really important to think about this type of thing. And the final one is what's known as the value of time. We've all been through it. We've all waited on the phone to the doctors when it seemingly takes forever. The year after that, it takes even longer. And this, in economic speak, is what's known as the opportunity cost. It's what you've got to give up for the next best alternative. So if we value your time by how much you get paid an hour, let's say it's 20 quid for namesake, that's 33 pence a minute. So you're waiting 20 minutes on hold to the doctors. Next week, you're waiting 30 minutes, so that's an increase in 10 minutes and ultimately reduced service quality. So that 20 minutes that you're waiting at your hourly rate, that's £6.60 an hour. After, when you're waiting even longer, it's £9.90. That's an increase in 50% in the price. And you know what? It's consumer... yeah, I'm talking too, like, I've only got 2 slides left, so don't worry too much. Consumer price index, is it really going to be 50%? Maybe or maybe not. Remember that all these numbers are kind of arbitrary, and the consumer price index is a weighted basket on what we value the most as consumers. But what is really important is that true inflation is beyond, way, way beyond what we're seeing in the media. So the message, simple, is just be aware of it, hold companies accountable, and let's recognise the true value of inflation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. You'll be pleased to hear that the Ignite talks are 5 minutes long. They always were 5 minutes long. They always will be 5 minutes long. We are standing fast on that. We're not going to try and shortchange you by making them 4.5 minutes long. Unless Neil forgets how to do the PowerPoint slides properly.
Which I have done.
I must admit, I do remember one time when somebody came off stage and went, "Oh, that goes so quick, doesn't it?" And I was like, yeah, it does, it's really, and then it turns out that we got the times wrong and he'd had 3 minutes. Sorry, Luke. Right, our next speaker is going to be telling us about the Sydney Opera House and the real story of it. So we welcome to the stage Eric Woodcock.
Jones tonight? Yeah, that's right, all set to go. Right, hello everybody. Let's go. Right, so Sydney Opera House, one of the most famous buildings in the world. The myth is that it was designed and entirely by this genius of a Danish architect. But actually, the true story is far more interesting and far more tragic. In the early 1950s, the government of New South Wales decided that Sydney needed an opera house, and they were going to put it on Bennelong Point, which was a site of an old tram depot. And in order to get the best design possible, they decided to have an international competition. 223 entries came in, and they looked at all the different designs. Some of them were very conventional, some of them were a bit more exotic. But the one that really struck them was this. It was barely more than sketches, but nonetheless it conveyed the atmosphere of the yachts in Sydney Harbour, and somehow it was seen as being the way forward, even though it was such an ill-informed design. It was the work of Jorn Utzon, a Danish architect in his mid-30s, who up to that point had only built a series of housing estates and a water tower. So he wasn't exactly highly qualified for the job. And he visualised that there would be 2 parts to it, in line with what they wanted, which was a major hall where you could have opera and symphony orchestras, things like that, and a smaller hall where you could have drama recitals and maybe slightly smaller opera. Now, he was Danish, and this man, Uwe Arup, was actually English, but his parents were Danish, so he kind of got the Danish psyche. And he was a very gifted structural engineer. So he got in touch with Jorn Utzon and said, "I want to help you build this extraordinary building." And it was going to be built in basically 3 stages. The first stage was the podium, the kind of platform that it would sit on. And then you'd have these extraordinary shells which would create a kind of outer carapace. And then the third stage would be the interior as windows. Now, a lot of the design problems hadn't really been solved, but they needed to get on because there was a lot of impatience about wanting to get this thing done quickly. So they started building the podium. And even this was 2 years late. They wanted to open in 1963, but they were never going to achieve that. Trying to create these weird shells in a parabolic shape was proving impossible. But you know, there was no way that you could make them stand up in high winds and so forth. So Jornutsen one day was peeling an orange, and he realised that if you peeled it in certain ways, you could create similar sort of shapes out of a sphere. So they got on with developing it in this sort of format, but it was wildly over budget, already 5 times over budget, 3 or 4 years late. The new government came in, Rob Askin was in charge, nice man, and he said, we've had enough of this. So basically, Jornutsen was sacked. He was sent back to Denmark, never came back again. And they brought in a local architect, again in his mid-30s, called Peter Hall, who'd done some justice buildings, some university buildings, and had very poor taste in hairstyles and suits. But nonetheless, he got on with it, and his job was to finish it. And he realised that it couldn't be finished in the way that Jornutsen wanted to finish it, and basically he had to simplify the design. The main hall would be a concert hall, symphonies and so forth, and opera, remember it's an opera house, was relegated to the smaller hall. The other big problem was the windows. These were the sort of windows that Jornutsen visualised that the building would have, but Peter Hall realised that you needed to do something which was much stronger and much bigger. He'd been to Kew Gardens in London, and he emulated the design actually of the Palm House there by creating these wonderful windows that hang off the insides of the shells and give you these marvellous views of the harbour. The interior, again, is not Jornutsen, it's Peter Hall. He designed all of this, although he tried to sort of emulate the, again, sort of Danish look, wood and so forth of Jornutsen's original vision. So when it comes to the end of it all, the building that we see today, Jornutsen celebrated, won big prizes, died a very, very happy man. It wouldn't have been possible to build it without the work of Uwe Arup, because he worked out how you could actually make all this stand up. And his business went on to become one of the world's major structural engineers, still is today. But the tragic figure is Peter Hall, because Peter Hall actually got it done. He actually got it finished when it seemed impossible. And yet he was completely written out of the story for many, many years, and he died a lonely alcoholic when he was only 65. That is the true story of Sydney Opera House.
Thanks for that, Eric. See, and at the start, I wasn't sure if it was going to tie into the previous talk, and it was going to be that it was inspired by a Toblerone. But it turns out it was much more interesting than that. That was super interesting. Thank you. Our next speaker is another Ignite regular, and Dave Armstrong is going to be telling us all about habits and compounding as we get to the front of the stage.
Cheers, this is so much more serious than the others, so bear with me. We've all been 17, haven't we? You know, we've all been 17. The thing is when I was 17, I got given a pay slip, and in that pay slip was a pension, and I got £30. In 2013, I retired, and I'm 65 now. The thing is that in the Royal Navy, you get told about compounding of money. But the real big thing when I served in the Royal Navy wasn't compounding of money, it was compounding of habits and behaviours. A lot of people think you get your brain removed, you don't. You learn about honesty, integrity, trust, ultimate teamwork, responsibility. So I served on the Invincible, was a gymnast in the Navy, and now I've served in the Falklands as a commando. The thing is though, when I left the Navy, I found there was a lot to be left to decide about all them. So they built me, but my granddad was from the First and Second World War, so he built me too. And what they taught me was there's two ways to look in life. You're either negative or destructive, or positive or developmental. And that's how your brain works. You choose which direction you take. Now I choose that. Now the thing is about compounding is this is you, this is your organisation, this is your company. But if you choose good habits, you will improve. But if you start out lying, deceiving, cheating, falsifying records, promoting people who are not right for the job, you will go to an unsure life. So compounding is the same as money. And that's what I realised when I was a young kid. At the time I thought, why did they take my pension out? I didn't want to know. But at the end of it, it lived. So I learned to change the narrative in my head at such a long... Plus I had people who are lost in the Falklands. But they gave me this gift to actually see life as a gift rather than it can be taken away. So I saw that. Now habits and behaviours can affect your health and health. But the most important thing I want to focus is leadership. Because if you have this in yourself, it can develop into your organisational culture, your social culture, your political culture. At the moment, it's questionable. It's really contestable. Now, if you lie, gossip, anger, Donald Trump. Now, if you've got this side, the problem is a lot of humans, as we've seen in history, conform and obey, and people are obsessed with power. Now, I got this tip many years ago, which is Socrates, and it's about wisdom. You know the things you know, which are habits. You know the things you don't know is the point of compounding. That means you think about something's not right and you want to change it. So you develop your positive habits. And now what you do is, I know there's a lot of things there, but trust, honest. And I got taught that as a 17-year-old. Now the important thing for me is that when I saw these here, I got a gift the other day about the levels of habits. Now the level of habits is important because you've got to have your own habits. You have your team habits, your organisation, your social. But that's flipped on its head with leadership. And unfortunately, what's in the cat is in the kittens. Whether you like it or not, you will subconsciously obey your team, your leader. And political, social, and it's the examples we've been set for our young 17-year-olds, which I'm really worried about. We should be embellishing. And if you look at the compounding effect of all the bad habits, the Ukraine war, the Hillsborough blood, you just have to change the narrative. We need to start talking to each other, start trusting each other, start believing each other. Sorry, Sean, but this is a great example of anything's possible. We were crap, and he turned us doubters into believers. We never thought of it, but all he did was invest good habits into the team. Now, the other thing I had the other day, I was watching the World Cup. I was in a little country called Japan. And I couldn't believe the life habits you grow, the behaviours you show, is the direction you go. Now, after the World Cup match with Japan, fans were spotted cleaning the air. There was no politician telling them, there was no boss telling them. It was a natural habit of find the place you are, as they're saying, when you're left, or make it better. And even the millionaire footballers did this exactly the same. That's come from habits from a child. And that's what we should introduce into our children. Because the problem is if you do something today to make you better tomorrow, the habits you grow, the behaviours you show, is the direction you go. And that from a personal level up to an organisational and political level. Sorry, that's it. Bye-bye.
Oh, the music stopped. And if everybody wants to develop a good habit, like speaking at Ignite's a good habit. We've had quite a few people tonight who've got the good habit of giving talks at Ignite. And so you can develop that habit as well. You just need to work out what it is you're passionate about, pull together 20 slides, and then stand up here for 5 minutes and talk about them. It's really easy. And you should talk to Neil, or just persuade your mate. If we're quite happy to do peer pressure as well. We're always on the lookout for speakers, and it's really good to come talk about stuff. speaking of speakers, our next speaker is Mia Tagg, and she's going to be telling us about gentrification.
Hello, just to warn you, I have, these are not going to be in the right order. So let's see what happens. Yeah, so cool. Right, so I'm here to talk about the practice. Now the practice is, this started off as this building opposite one of my friend's houses, but has now sort of become and evolved into more of a movement and is sort of detached from this building now. So that's one of the things that's changed. This is my friend and collaborator on this project, Becky Hawley. She's 1/3 of the Liverpool band Stealing Sheep. She's a DJ and she's a researcher and lecturer at LIPA as well. That's me. I've had a very checkered past, or a portfolio CV as they call it. So I've been everything from a photographer, filmmaker, project manager. I've done hospitality startups, I've been a writer, and I've done a couple of degrees. And since I've been here, I've watched Liverpool's grassroots creative move out of rope walks, quick stint in the Baltic Triangle, and now they're in 10 streets and beyond. And so these are some of the companies that I have delivered projects for. So Home Baked, you might be familiar with. Baltic Creative, I set up Northern Lights, by the way, which will come up in a minute. And Make CIC is my most recent one. But yeah, so some of you will recognise this cycle of doom. Area and economic and social decline, artists look for affordable space, creative communities form and reinvigorate. Areas become attractive, developers move in, cultural value turns into property value, and everybody is evicted. So, the current insecurities for Liverpool's grassroots creatives are unpredictable landlords, speculative markets, and political policy changes. This is also what we're faced with most of the time. Empty, cavernous, drafty, leaky buildings that need a lot of capital investment up front. This is a sweaty artist, labouring. So this is the way the cycle works. You have a creative community. They pay peppercorn rent to a landlord. They also pay in sweat equity to council and developers, and this arrow is a mistake. What they get in return is displacement and eviction, and then they get placed somewhere else. So the value gap there is between the sweat equity and the real estate equity. So even though artists create 30% increase in regional wealth, we receive 0% of that wealth back. So these are my triggers. So the closure of Northern Lights, which set 140 creatives adrift, this Hartington Road clinic, and 30% of venues closing in the last 10 years. Now, this is rope walks. These are the places that have been closed since I moved here, just a few of them, but Static Gallery is still there. It's a great venue. And the Bridewell is still up by the Royal. So what makes them different from all the other venues? Those organisations own their buildings, which means that they can plan for permanence, for example. So what's our problem? Well, most of us don't give a flying fuck about business and finance. We have a poor understanding of our own value, and we have no liquid assets. However, some do. So property developers and landlords have an understanding of the market. They have inside information, and they have liquid assets. And my point here isn't that we don't have large-scale regeneration. It's very important for infrastructure and housing. My problem is that these two circles at the moment are very far apart. And I think that if they were closer together, we could reach some really good cultural policy that's non-exploitative and non-extractive. Yeah, so. It's really hanging on in there, right? So,
There you go.
oh, there we go. So, culture, the word culture doesn't actually mean business, but basically, my point is that the creatives of Liverpool provide joy and spectacle, but we also create a lot of wealth, and we'd like some of that wealth paid back to us. So, in order to see what the market was like for this building across from Becky's house, the Hodgington Road Clinic, we set up a statement of support and asked people to sign it. So in the which 2 weeks ago. So in the last 2 weeks, we've had 215 signatures, 80 people have added their own testimonials, and we have had 100 people registering, actively looking for studio space. So, and that's Dave McCabe, he wrote a testimonial. And then there's supposed to be a picture of the Hodgington Clinic here, but there isn't. It's currently on the market for £400,000. It would provide 21 lettable rooms over 2 floors. And there's the QR code. So there we go. You can sign the statement of support. You can get in touch with me here if you want to learn more about creative regeneration.
Thank you very much, Lamia. Yeah, like artists need to work out to own spaces. We do get more stuff in the commons would be good. Our next speaker, I think, is going back to talk about kind of property a long time ago, if I'm reading the title correctly. And so, if you can welcome to the stage Patrick Hurley, who can tell us about the West Derby 100.
Thank you, thank you. Pleasure to be here this evening. I'm going to talk to you about the West Derby 100, which, apologies in advance, because it's the hottest day of the year, it's 9 o'clock at night, you've all had a drink, I'm going to talk about local government boundaries. It gets worse, it really does get worse, because I'm going to talk about local government boundaries from the Middle Ages. You can tell it's the Middle Ages, right, because they didn't know what Ireland looked like. Well, what's this? Also, because they used to have plant pots on their head. Plant pots on their head. And I'll show you the next slide, right? They've all got bloody plant pots on their head! This is the Middle Ages court. They didn't have councils back then. What they had is hundreds. And this is the court of the 100. This is the court of the West Derby 100. Because we didn't have councils. This is Lancashire in the Middle Ages, right? So we had the Salford 100, as they call it, the West Derby 100, the Leyland 100. It's called the West Derby 100 because it wasn't run from Liverpool. It was massive though. It had Warrington in it, it had Martin Mere in it, it had St Helens in it, it had Southport in it, where I live now. But it wasn't run from Liverpool. It was run from the Sefton Arms. I'll tell you a story about Sefton Arms, right? I had my first drink in the Sefton when I was about 15. Me and my mates turned up there in our school uniform one lunchtime and we got served. Fantastic. It wasn't really run from the Sefton, it was run from this place in West Derby. This is the court. This has actually got the court salon stair lift available next door to it. It is still there from the Middle Ages. This is where the council, the 100, was run from. They were all over the place, loads of them. There may even have been 100 across the country. In Lancashire, we had West Derby, Leyland, Salford, we have loads of them, right? And you might see, this is a little bit like Merseyside, the West Derby 100. This is overlaid, olden times and modern times. You will see up here, 100 End. That's where the 100 ended. It actually ended on Boundary Lane in 100 End, would you believe? I have put this slide in here, right, because we're going to zoom forward in time, just like Doctor Who did when he visited Albert Dock. We're also going to slow down because I have got nothing to say while that slide is up. We're zooming forward to 1969. This is what Merseyside could have looked like had the 1969 proposals been taken forward. We'd have had Wrexham in it down here. South Merseyside. Instead, this is what we ended up with. We had the Wirral added in, great, but we didn't have Wrexham, we didn't have Warrington, we didn't have Wigan, we didn't have Ormskirk. The next slide, you will see, this is a bit weird, this map. Why has it got this button not here? If you go from St Helens up to Southport, there is a West Lancs shaped hole in Merseyside. Because Ormskirk didn't want to be part of it. And this has got real world implications. It's got real world implications for your travel. It's why the line ends at Ormskirk. And you've got to get off, and you've got there's a buffer there. It's why when you're trying to get to Skelmersdale on public transport, it can take up to an hour and a half, but if you get to St Helens, which is the same distance, it might only take 21 minutes from here, because the transport infrastructure follows the governmental infrastructure. It's why when you get the A59, before you get to Ormskirk, it's a dual carriageway with 2 lanes either way. After Ormskirk, it's a little country road. It's why one of our finest tourist attractions, Martin Mere, it's why nobody goes. Because it's too hard to get to. This is what Merseyside could have looked like had the people in the 70s decided to emulate what the Middle Ages council system looked like. We could have had Warrington and Wigan and St Helens and Ormskirk within the local authority boundaries. Instead, we've got Southport, we've got Warrington. These are different local authority areas. We've got the Peerhead, but we haven't got Martin Mere, we haven't got Warrington, and those places miss out. What we do have, though, is the Sefton Arms, which is fantastic. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thanks for that, Patrick. And it's good that I was right about the West Derby 100. It wasn't like the 100 best people to come out of West Derby, and I'd have to tell my mum like where she was in the ranking and why she wasn't number 1. Right, that brings us to the last speaker for this evening. But you see, if there were more people offering to give talks, we'd have to have a long. You all know what to do. Just send Neil details of what you're going to talk about at the next one. It's going to be great. So if you can welcome to the stage Trish Brown. Please, there was probably someone on the A59 who says clutching at some link to the previous talk.
Hello everyone. So the last time I gave a talk, I opened it with a kind of Troy McClure kind of, you might recognise me from previous talks, like, look down, manholes. And nobody laughed. And I asked someone, like, why did no one laugh? And they went, we didn't realise it was a joke. We thought you'd genuinely given a presentation on manholes. So that's why I'm now giving a talk on manholes, because I thought I had to do it. Yeah, that was actually my first slide. But this is an AI-generated street scene of street furniture, because apparently my niche now is doing presentations on street furniture and trying to make them sound as rude as possible. So if I give you like a really dodgy wink, it's your turn to laugh. Right. This whole story in part starts with a book by a woman called Kate Asher, who used to work for the mayor of New York. And then she wrote this book in about 2005 that kind of picked all the parts of how a city works, and I mean every little part, and explained it. It was very informative to me, and because manhole covers in New York are really important, they're mentioned like 21 times or something. I tried to count them all last night. And of course, one of the most inspiring things for me is that essentially they're all different. Every company had its own design, and occasionally they play with the design, which means there's a wide variety of manhole covers. And I think street furniture should be beautiful. So talking of beautiful, What I do not understand is why anyone needs 1,500 photos of men in manholes. But I also want to draw attention to the second in my Google search ranking, which was about the documentary that's called Ghostbusters, which tells you all about what's going on underneath. Obligatory cultural reference to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because you can't talk about manhole covers or people living in sewers without mentioning them. But what is a manhole cover, right? What is it? It has to be firm enough to put up with cars driving over it. There is a common perception that it's round because it means you can't drop it inside. And they're steel because it's considered cheap. But some of this is wrong because actually you can make them out of plastic, and as you can see there, only 1 in 8 is actually round. Most of them are square. But I also want to draw your attention to the drainage superstore. Who knew there was a drainage superstore? Because, which leads me to where do manhole covers come from? Obviously, manholecoversdirect.com, right? And I kind of want to go, we make them fit.com. We make them fit.com. We can fit any hole. Anyway, no. There are 3 companies that in the country that, as far as I can tell, are the 3 big ones that make manhole covers. These are 2 of them. For some reason, all 3 websites have timelines on them. They're all family owned. And Wrecking is my favourite because, look, potholes, more than a surface issue, trendy pun. And then with no sense of irony called it a groundbreaking industry-wide paper. But I'm going to talk about Wrecking for a while because, so they have done 3 differently designed manhole covers, and this is important for the end point. And this is their one for pride. One of their clients is Thames Water, and Thames Water was prepared to take a risk and do different design for manhole covers. And for some reason, the Daily Mail decided to blame, I don't know, gay people for the fall of late capitalism. I mean, you know, it's a bit of a stretch, but it is the Daily Mail. Are we really surprised? Not really. But the 3rd design that Wrecking did is of Abbey Road. It's really hard to see because it's a bit shit. But that's actually the Beatles on a manhole cover. But obviously on Abbey Road, because there is a manhole just in front of the pedestrian crossing on the Abbey Hole. But this one is in Liverpool, it's just outside the Tate, and it says, "My future will reflect a new world," which is the most poetic way to describe shit and sewage I think I've ever come across, ever. But that is here in Liverpool. So if we go to, obviously we've gone from New York to Britain, and now Japan, where obviously all manhole covers are beautiful. They're so beautiful there are fans. They call it drain spotting. Not my pun. And they have manhole summits. Yeah, and they have manhole cards, a bit like Pikachu. And I want to point out that summit is in a place to meet, not a thing you climb up. Because climbing up a manhole just means something else completely else. And of course, in Europe, they are proud of the designs of their manholes, which is why I was talking to someone earlier, in 2017 there was this weird trend of making art from manhole covers and inking t-shirts and making them, and if I'd had time I would have done them for this. You can ignore this slide because people climbing out of manholes and being called turtle people is just a thing, but I asked AI to draw a man in a manhole because there are 1,500 photos, and that's what ChatGPT gave me. So I don't know whether it's a warning or a quest, but just look down.
Thank you very much for that, Trace. And excellent choice of music as ever, Dan. And that sadly brings us to the end of the 57th night. Let's just go back to the start. Okay, yeah. So yes, thank you all for coming. If we give a big round of applause for all the speakers again. And also a big thanks to Dan, Neil, Lydia, and And this is the point where I ask Neil when the next one is, and he tells me he doesn't know.
I don't know.
He doesn't know, and we don't know where it is. It might still be back here.
Maybe New Brighton.
Might be in New Brighton, apparently. Ooh. Crazy. Sign up on the QR code that's on one of the QR codes, the many QR codes that are on the programme that I was talking about at the start, to get on the mailing list if you aren't already, and then you'll get an email when the next one's happening. Usually it's in about 3 months or so. It's been a bit more than 3 months since the last one, but yes, we will have another one, and if you want to give a talk, then send the details in, and then we'll let you know when the next one's happening. And yeah, thank you all, and we'll see you soon.